even though on the one hand it is extremely simple, just do this double breathing, it also includes learning to keep your attention, learning to let go, a lot of things that only come with time. And nowadays, mindfulness is very popular. Everybody's doing mindfulness. And I think the reason it's so popular is that it doesn't mention India, it doesn't mention gurus, so it's very simple. You just get a instruction in how to sit down, turn your focus inside on your breath, and then observe whatever comes out. Your thoughts will come out even more strongly, and don't get attached to those thoughts, but just bring your attention back to your breathing. This is mostly what mindfulness is about. And in itself, it's a wonderful practice. If everybody did that, there would be more peace in the world and more focus and so on, And of course, the practice that we learned from Rudy and the practice that we do has all those elements. We do sit down, we do turn our attention inside, we do turn our attention to the breath, and even the more complicated breathing of double breathing. And we do notice that our thoughts come out even more strongly when we try to do that. And we just let go and turn our attention back to the breathing. And we stay with that. Some of us have now done it for more than 40 years. And when you do it regularly, over a long period of time, then you start to notice that a different kind of reality emerges in you, a different kind of feeling, if you want, a different kind of contact with your own energy, and the subtlety of that energy vibrating in a kind of stillness. This practice has also very much the aspect of going deeper than just the breath. We want to go into the breath within the breath. In other words, what's called the Kundalini energy, the energy at the core, which, as you do it, will start to move inside you. You will feel some subtle movement. Suddenly there's movement here, you will feel your tensions, and you will ask, and opens more strongly. For some people it can be very intense and powerful. For other people it's just a gentle kind of transformation, and you just start to feel that your life is starting to change. Life around you is changing, right? You've been experiencing that now pretty intensely, and it's very exciting. This is a sign both that when you are functioning better yourself and when your life around you starts to change, this is a sign that the Kundalini energy is alive and purifying your system. And sometimes people around you notice it almost before you did. So this practice is really ancient, and it amazes me how Rudy, our teacher Rudy, Swami Rudananda, dug this out of himself. He went to India and he was recognized here, but he didn't study any texts. He didn't really talk with his teacher, Nityananda, or later Muktananda, about any of these things. He just sort of dug it out of himself. And a lot of what we learned from him and what he talked about and showed us is written down in these old texts. So I want to use one of these texts as a framework for this week, which is called Vijnana Bhairava, means divine consciousness. It's part of Kashmir Shaivism. Shaivism is focused on Shiva. Shiva is the symbol of the vast, infinite potential, stillness in which this vibration moves. So when we go in and talk about feeling the Kundalini energy, or at least we feel the effects of the Kundalini rising, we also, through that experience, get in touch with that stillness. It's a dynamic stillness, but we get a tremendous sense of peace inside as we let go of all kinds of thought constructs, and we don't let any of these things catch us. So, from this simple practice that Rudy taught us, and that he used himself intensely, all of these things flow out of it. Deeper and deeper and deeper understanding about who we really are. And this book has a lot of what's called dharanas, which are practices, simple practices. I will mention some of them. For example, that you can notice the gap between your thoughts, and you can grab a hold of that stillness and use that stillness. Is what Leonard Cohen said. There's a crack in everything, and there is a crack in everything. There's a crack in the world. There's a gap between words. There's a gap between experiences, thoughts. Even when we have very strong emotions, we can use that as a way of noticing as that emotion arises and as it subsides. It arises out of a stillness, and it has an energy in it. If you feel anxiety or anger or whatever, you can use that as a way of returning to the source of it. And when we get to the source of it, no matter what it is, what we discover is, it is just dynamic stillness. It is just, it is just that Shiva Shakti together. Shiva is the infinite possibility. Shakti is the subtlest energy flowing. And that's who we are at the core. And it has also the idea of tuning into the Om sound, which of course Rudy also emphasized, and letting yourself be filled with that as a way of being free of yourself and being free of the world. To be then, by being free of your superficial self, recognizing your real universal self. So it's not to reject yourself. It's to find your deeper self, to be as much of yourself as you can be, not your ego, but your real energy and your real compassion and your real love.